bombs are being dropped over Europe than ever before. Apart from the bombers our own factories are turning out, huge numbers of American aeroplanes are coming over to Britain for the RAF and the United States Air Force to use. All these bombers need airfields. Hundreds of airfields must be built all over Britain, not only for present needs, but in readiness for our great offensive. Here's a typical airfield in construction. It's miles from anywhere, on a piece of ground that had to be cleared and leveled before the concrete runways could be laid down. The airfield is half finished. The main runways are already in place, but it'll be some time yet before the job is complete. In the meantime, it's a desert of mud and water. Actually, there are about 1,000 men working on the site, but in such a vast area, you don't see many of them at once. Here are some of the men going to dinner. There's a camp here made of nissen huts, and the canteen serves hundreds of meals every day. More than most people, these men need a hot meal when they break from their job. Typical is Bill Richardson, who works on the concrete mixer. Most of these men not only eat in the camp, but live in it. The nearest town is 5 miles, and there are not enough billets to be found there or in the villages anyway. Here's the hut in which Bill Richardson and 10 others live and sleep. They make it as comfortable as possible, and at any rate, the stove is good and warm. In the evenings, there's time to kill. In the recreation hut, they sometimes have a film show or a visit from Ensa, but the paper is these men's chief contact with the outside world. Taking it all in all, would you swap jobs with them? But they're doing a job, and doing it fast. Here's the concrete mixer up beside the main runway. To the concrete mixer come lorries to fetch the stuff of which the runways are made. And here's Bill Richardson at his job, clearing one of the mixing drums when the man on the mixer doesn't allow enough water for the concrete to flow easily down the chute. Away goes another lorry, off to the edges of the airfield, beyond this waste of mud and water, where giant machines are still leveling the ground as a foundation for the concrete. Watch this one. And here's the lorry with the load of concrete from the mixer. Here it goes. This is an urgent job, a race against time. These airfields are wanted now, and when men like Bill Richardson shorten the time of building them, they are shortening the war. For all of them, it's a proud moment, while the airfield is still being built, to watch the first bomber taking off. On the wireless to listen to Freddie Gricewood on the kitchen front.
Your idea again. Well, as you probably know, our farmers have done a grand job of work once more, and we've got quantities of potatoes in this country. So you see, any recipe that uses potatoes is bound to be a favorite. I've got one here for a pudding sent in by Mrs. Brown of 19 Thesiger Road, Clapham, which I should like you to share, because not only has it got potatoes in it, but all the other...
Mrs. Brown had a recipe for a pudding, which was her husband's favorite. It was easy to make in wartime, so she sent the recipe in to the Ministry of Food Kitchen Front. Kitchen Front decided to test it, and this is what happened. The Ministry of Food went shopping. Mrs. Sandifer is the experimental cook. She has to wait in a queue like everybody else for the rations with which she tries out the recipes that are sent in. She only has 2 ration books for the job, by the way, so it's not extravagant. In the experimental kitchen, the cook makes up Mrs. Brown's recipe. It was decided to make it up, not only because it might taste nice, but because the diet experts agreed that its food value was high. Meanwhile, the experts are called in to see the results. Here is Mr. Gricewood, who has come to find out what recipes he's going to use in his broadcast. And here are the diet experts. Their decisions are important, but most important is the taste. Among expert tasters who sample many recipes is Bill the Liftman. Okay, it's good. He likes it. And that's what happens when you send in a recipe to the kitchen front. The country gets the benefit of your idea. War in the open spaces of the desert sets problems of how to conceal tanks and guns and men. There's no natural cover, and everything must be camouflaged, so that from the air, the enemy cannot distinguish an army from rocks and boulders and patches of scrub. Here, the camouflage is being done with nets, and this is the beginning of the nets, balls of twine. First, the needles must be laced up. Each needle holds 14 yards of twine, and the fast worker prepares enough needles to keep going for some time. To start the net, a loop is made round a piece of wood which is cut the right size for the mesh. 2 loops are added to the first one, then 3 to the 2, and so on. It's like knitting and adding 1 stitch every row. Now watch the speed at which the nets begin to take shape. As the nets get bigger, a rod is threaded through and what has already been made is pinned back. This stops the net from becoming too much of a handful. The factory where these nets are being made is in a fishing village. Many nets are not made in the factory at all. Spare time workers come for balls of twine to make up at home. When they're brought back, the nets have to weigh the same as the amount of twine issued. The finished nets are examined by a government inspector who sees that they conform to the regulations, and then they're dyed with special rot-proof dye. Finally, patches of scrim are fixed to the nets in patterns which vary according to where the nets are to be used and what they're going to cover. Back in the desert, the war goes on. Thanks to camouflage nets, the enemy aeroplanes could not find the guns. And now, the guns leap to life.
When Mother said it's time for bed, up the stairs we'd climb. We always took a storybook, once upon a time. Jack and Jill went up the wooden hill. Peter Piper played a lullaby. Red Riding Hood was in the wood.
This is the centre for service men and women in London, the Queensberry Club. It used to be the London Casino, where expensive revues were staged for expensive people. But nowadays, membership open to anyone in uniform, and that goes for lots of civil defence workers too, costs exactly 2 shillings for 6 months, and members can take in a guest. The club is open every evening from 5 to 10:30, except on some Wednesdays when they have slap-up boxing shows, with seats open to the public at fancy prices to help meet the running costs of all the other evenings. You can't get alcohol here, but you can get good food and a lot of company. And on some nights, first-class shows with top-liners on the bill. And always you can dance. This is what the war front can do in London when they're not working, and all at 2 shillings for 6 months.